Today I wanted to dispel some of the gate-kept reels and TikToks out there and show behind the curtain. I've got 3 videos that need answers, but first let me show you something cool that I found right under my nose in Ableton. I didn't know that you can drop shapers and envelopes into a drum rack. In here I have a basic beat. And as you can see at the top here, I have some shapers and some envelopes. These are tied to different effects, EQs, and reverbs of these one-shots. That means if I go into my piano roll and draw in some new MIDI notes, I can actually affect the sound with these envelopes. Super cool. What's great is we can really step things up when we add this tiny click transient. On its own, this sound is pretty unsuspecting, but adding an envelope to that triggers tons of harmonic distortion, which gives almost like a melodic line to this groove. Let's put all of those sounds together. How awesome is that? If you're digging this kind of rack and don't want to create it yourself, I've dropped it over at the Patreon this week. I'm not sure if it will be buggy, so keep me posted in the comments. All right, let's get to the reason you clicked on this video, shall we? Let's dispel some of the TikTok trends in the production community. I want to showcase this one first. Odd Kid Out and similar accounts often showcase this seemingly magical piece of sound design. They have a PS4 controller on screen, and when they fire the gun, grab the coin, score the goal, whatever it is, out of nowhere, music is made. I thought this one was fairly obvious, but so many folks in the comments are asking how it's possible, and of course, content creators love to withhold information. So, noise gate is the main magic secret with, of course, some processing. In this video, we have some dubstep drums playing at the bottom, almost as like a backing track. When the gun fires, it's going through a noise gate and then triggering a processing chain. This particular processing chain is made by Affinity. The idea is pretty simple. It's an envelope follower tied to your audio trigger. A vocoder works wonderfully for creating texture. We tie that to a multi-band distortion like raw, and you can add some nice melodic tone with spectral resonator. Of course, there's much more processing in Affinity's version. I paid the $36 so you didn't have to. If you want me to make something similar for a fraction of the price, just let me know. Oh, by the way, here's another shortcut I found in Ableton thanks to the internet. You know when you're sliding clips around and you want to bump a clip right up against another clip that was previously laid out? And sometimes you can get pretty close or you can overlap. What we can actually do is hold Option and press left, and it will immediately snap it up against the last audio layer. Again, a decade. I had no idea that that was there either. Next in our list is a video that I see pop up a few times a year, which always gets audiences divided. It's Chase and Status Drummer creating this kind of jungle drum solo. Some folks are wondering just how quickly the drummer is performing, whilst others are trying to figure out why his movements don't match up with the sound. It's all about triggers, my friends. You'll notice the drummer is hitting the same pad time and time again. This is just triggering the drum loop. Probably off stage, his tech guy is cycling through the different kit sounds after every 4 bars. We can copy this same technique, but we can also do it more intricately, which I think is a little bit more fun. Check this out. In short, you'll want to have your jungle parts as a backing track. You'll set up your track with an instrument rack, and inside that you'll have a multitude of drum racks. Unhide the chain list, and on each drum rack selection, set the chain selector to 0, 1, 2, and 3. We'll then want to create a dummy track, which is an empty MIDI track with no information, and inside envelopes, go to MIDI control and select instrument rack, and then select the chain selector. As you did before with each chain selection, set it to 0, 1, 2, and so on. This will mean that when you hit the play button on each dummy track, it will then trigger the automation to change the drum rack sound, but not trigger any loops. Our chase and status drummer is using the same kick and cymbal, so I'm going to drop a kick and cymbal sample into each of our drum racks in the same place, but on the snare pad, I'm going to drop a different jungle drum loop. So jungle drums 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is great to hook up to a foot switch, but I've also tried to make it easier to comprehend by using the launch pad. So we're just going to play the clip at the end of every 4 bars to trigger the new drum kit sound, and then hit the snare pad to trigger that loop. Other than the sounds being triggered, the drummer is just hitting the same cymbal and kick drum. I think what would have been more exciting for me would be to see the drummer actually play those breaks and trigger the various sounds too, like this. So the only difference this time around is that my drum racks are populated with each of the sounds of the loop. So the kick drum and the cymbal are still on the same pads for each of the drum racks. Now each of my snare pads has a different jungle one shot. And I've also populated these drum racks with other sounds from those specific jungle loops. Finally, and disappointingly, I want to remind you that most things on the internet are fake, like this. What's the problem here? A lot of drummers take part in this trend. It looks mind-bending at first, but most of the time they're actually playing to the track in time and then shifting their backing track in post-production. Of course, this guitar is being processed and not being played live. Artists like RJ Payson, I hope I said that right, and Scro have garnered millions of views with this stuff. I actually think it's really cool, and it basically comes down to making micro chops. I have a complete video breakdown on this style as well, so you can find that in the description or in the top right. And this is our final example. And you might be thinking, but Will, this is just somebody playing guitar. How is this fake as well? Well, it's not entirely fake, but the reason I wanted to bring it to your attention today is that a lot of metal guitarists are also using something like Serum to either beef up their guitars or just write parts quicker. And I think that's really cool. And it leads to a lot of possibilities as well. So check this out. You basically take the low end of the guitar and drop that wavetable into Serum. You do the same with the top end of the guitar and drop it into the second oscillator. And then you take the transient chug audio and drop that into the noise oscillator. And then you get this. But this still isn't sounding that convincing, right? So you add an amp simulator, in this case I'm using Neural DSP, and some extra processing. From here, I'll add something like the ample bass guitar and some drums, and you got yourself a new metal hit. I hope dispelling some of this magic actually excites your creativity. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more stuff like this. This video was of course sponsored by DistroKid, and right now in the description I have discounts for students and anyone else looking to sign up. Thanks so much for swinging by, and I'll catch you next time.